And welcome back to the show. We're talking about the history of Nashville with an organization that's been around for 50 years, Historic Nashville, Inc. Trey Bruce, as you recall, is the vice president of the board for the organization, and Robbie Jones, also a member of the board. You all have a big celebration coming up on March 10th with phenomenal songwriters, including yourself, who will be doing some awesome performances. Tickets, again, $100.
At the website.
Not bad at all.
Dinner, drinks, and a show.
And for a very good cause.
Very good cause.
And so how can people get a hold of those tickets if they're interested? Give us those details.
They can go to historicnashvilleinc.org. They can email at info@historicnashvilleinc.org, or you can call 615-669-4503. Doors open at 6:30. Food will start 30 minutes later. That will last 45 to 60 minutes, and then the show starts, and we'll pretty much play as long as someone wants to listen.
Yeah. And I bet people, well, I would hope people know a little bit about Leaper's Fork, but having it there shows some sense of commitment to preserving the past as well, yeah. Doesn't it?
That's a picture of preservation out there.
Mm-hmm. The other things that you hope people get out of this, besides the fact that you want to make sure you constantly focus on those 9, which this year has boiled down to 1, focusing on Fort Negley. But what are the other things that you hope people get from the work that you're doing with Historic Nashville, Inc.?
We want them to know that we have tools available to them to preserve their own places. A lot of people don't realize we have an easement program. They can donate an easement on their own property, their own home, that would preserve it in perpetuity. A lot of farmers and people that own rural properties take advantage of conservation easements to preserve their family farms. They can never be developed. We have the exact same program for historic properties, and they can preserve historic homes, historic stores, businesses, whatever they want to put an easement on, and it'll be preserved in perpetuity. And they also get a tax break, a one-time federal tax break, and so there's some financial incentives. But we want to get that word out about those programs that we have, that some tools available. We work with the city and state and federal agencies that have grants available and help them leverage funds to get those grants to preserve historic sites. And so there are things that we can do. We have a revolving fund that we recently launched a couple of years ago, where if we're able to build up a revolving fund sufficiently, we can actually go buy properties or buy options on properties and put easements on them and then sell them to preservation-friendly buyers. So we kind of become this, we buy them some time, which happens a lot, is that people sell buildings to developers because there's not like an opportunity to come in and try to intervene. So if we were able to build those programs up, we can intervene and save more properties, and not just talk, but actually do.
So I look at, for instance, and I know this organization is for Davidson County, Nashville, but I look at the construction along Franklin Road right now to widen that road. If people had participated in an easement program, would that have protected their property? Because right now they are moving that line to the middle of the front of their yards. And so is that how the easement program works?
Really, our easement program is really to do with buildings like the facades. Okay. You can put conservation easements on land. Gotcha. But if there's a road widening project, and I don't want to get off into the weeds, but
you can't really beat that.
Right. If there's state and federal agencies involved, and there's eminent domain issues and things like that. But it does give you leverage that you don't have if you don't have an easement, to at least mitigate and negotiate that allows that to happen. And the same thing happens in urban environments, where if someone's trying to build a development next to your building, if you have an easement on it, you have some leverage there that you can negotiate, mitigate, where you don't have it without it.
To protect around you, so that the community stays the way it originally was meant to be.
Right.
Cool. Any other things that you think are important from a vice presidential point of view, as the VP of the board, that you want to see moving forward?
Nothing is more important right now than that writer's night on the 10th. Gotcha. We want people to come out and get fired up about our 50th anniversary. Yeah. This is usually when we have a good fight on deck, whether it's Studio A or Fort Negley or Printer's Alley. That's usually when our membership gets a little bump. And and we're a nonprofit, and we have no paid employees. We do it all on our own, and we're super busy right now. So just just take a glance at what we do and see how hard this board works for Nashville and the community.
And I had forgotten about Studio A until you said it. So you all have some powerful wins. Maybe give me a list of some of the powerful wins that you've had where you've actually gotten in there and protected that historic.
We turned that around. I mean, that was a losing battle almost to the last minute. We rallied people. We gloved up with the developer. I was served papers to be quiet. I mean, it was a fight, and that building tripled in value in 120 days and was pulled into a safe harbor by some people that we found to buy it. And it's been fully restored. It's on the National Register of Historic Places.
Yeah.
It's making Grammy-nominated records again, and it's fully rented. And that, in 400 years, that little piece of Music Row, if nothing else, will be left. And people will go, this is that neighborhood where those guys wrote all those songs. I mean, millions of songs.
Yeah.
Probably the largest amount of copyrights and intellectual property come out of 1 square mile anywhere.
Wow.
But I don't want, I want to mix in our little neighborhood landmarks that also help preserve neighborhoods. The East Nashville Fire Hall, Gallatin Road's one of my favorites. We worked with Karen and Gary Goodlow, who bought it. It was a condemned building that had been gutted by fire.
We've got just a few seconds.
They bought it. We worked with them to preserve it, and now it's also fully rented with retail stores. And so we work at the big picture, I mean the big high-profile projects and the little small neighborhood projects to do what we can.
Keep the community intact.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your work and your effort. And remember that on March 10th is that event. And then, of course, all of the activities that you all have moving beyond the big celebration, the Songwriter Celebration on the 10th. And if you want to get more information, historicnashvilleinc.org. You see that website there again on the bottom of the screen. Thank you so much for being with us both.